morning, everyone. Welcome to Toad TV. I am Mary Beth.
I am Helen.
And we are the creative hands and minds behind Toad Hollow. And
I am wearing my boho romance crop. It's all blocked. It's the perfect length. I'll step back here.
that bottom is so pretty.
Yeah. Everything blocks out really well. So, and it fits perfectly. I tried it on first, wearing clothes that did not necessarily work with a crop, and I'm like, great, another sweater I'm never going to wear again. But then I'm
that's
like,
hideous.
nobody needs to see that.
Right. Is that an end? Oh, that's a snag.
That's because I picked that creature up.
Ugh, that creature.
Then I'm like, okay, wait. Put it together with the outfit you were planning to wear it with. It works perfectly. It's exactly the way I thought it was going to sit with this dress. So,
Excellent.
okay.
And the yarn is?
The yarn is Dinglehopper in DK. 3/4 length sleeves. The sleeves did not black out. But I'm okay with that because this is not a sweater that I knit for warmth.
Right.
I'm going to push the sleeves up anyway. So.
Okay. Perfect.
Very, very pleased.
It looks so pretty. It really does. I love the way it's all orangey up here.
Yeah. And then the white and the gray.
Yeah. No, it really worked out perfectly.
Yeah. And very quick knit. I mean, as far as the sweater is concerned, it was a quick knit.
Yeah. Cool.
I will knit sweaters again because when I first tried it on, I was like, that's it. I'm not knitting sweaters anymore.
Come around. Okay. I am wearing the blur shawl because I am covering up my yarn washing clothes. We are going from here straight downstairs to wash all the yarn that we dyed yesterday, and it's wet. So I'm wearing old clothes to do that. So I'm covering up. And the blur shawl is a great thing to use to cover up because A, it matches my sweatshirt, and B, it's nice and big.
And it's beautiful colors.
It is. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right. So, we hope you guys had a great weekend.
Yes.
We had, well, yesterday was a bit of a killer, but other than that, we had a really, really nice weekend. So it was fun.
Yeah.
We got to chat with some people online. That was really interesting and fun. Learned a whole bunch of new things. So, and then, we actually got some crafting done. A little bit. Not very much, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And planning. Business
Always
never
with the
ends.
planning.
Always. All right. So, what are we talking about today?
Firefly Lane, I think, right?
Today is all about the Firefly.
Yeah.
Lane, that is.
Much rather talk about the Firefly.
Yeah. Okay, so Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This is going to be a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't read the book and you are planning to read the book, you probably should stop here and come back after you're done. If you're not planning to read the book and you're just interested to see what we think, then please stick around.
Yeah.
And if you have read the book, feel free to yell out at the screen and let us know what you think, because we'll hear you. Promise. Or, leave us a comment. Okay, so you finished the book first, and then I read it. How many stars did you give it?
I ended up giving it 4. I thought I was going to give it 3 to begin with. Because A, I didn't like the way the book started. Because I kept waiting. It starts with, there's a rift between the two friends.
Right.
So I kept thinking every time you hit a particular point, and she wrote it that way, that, okay, this is the time that Tully does it. And
okay.
because it doesn't take very long to realize that it's probably going to be Tully causing the rift. So I kept waiting so that I'd get to a point, and then I'm like, all right, here's where we go. This is where the rift is coming. And then it was just like, oh, okay, no. Then move on to the next one.
Right. There were a couple of times it was, how much worse can she be?
Exactly.
If that didn't cause the rift. Seriously?
Then there was the fact that I did not like the characters terribly much. And what moved me from 3 to 4 stars was the fact that I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the way the book was structured. Yet I finished the book and I was interested every time I was reading it.
You also were crying at the end.
Right. Well, I mean, it does not take much to make me cry. And I mean, this is like,
Pull all the heartstrings.
yeah, it was designed to make you cry at the end.
Well,
And it was a very prolonged cry at the end.
yeah, that did take quite a while to happen. that was an extended one.
But her writing is so good that even though, because I have put books down because I'm just like, I don't like anybody here. I don't care about the outcome.
I have very little time to read books, so
Right.
I'm not going to waste it on something
And I have
I'm
nothing
not enjoying.
invested in this. And it's not, I mean, especially with this book, there's no real plot
Other than the friendship.
other than the
Yeah.
friendship. And it's just, but it's a very, very deep friendship. And it's like all of her other books. All of a sudden you get to a point and you're like, okay, now I'm invested in this friendship.
Okay.
It took me to the end to realize how invested in the friendship I was, because I really thought that Kate should stood up to her a long time before she did.
Yeah.
Kate had issues. I mean, so. But
I
go ahead,
also
you
gave
can
it.
say.
Yeah, I also gave it 4 stars because I didn't particularly like the characters either. They infuriated me. However,
I mean, one of them.
I'm
needed
still
a good
thinking about it.
smack.
Oh, good Lord, that child needs to be smacked. I'm still thinking about it, and it's still bothering me. Also, we watched the first episode of the show, and I figured I had given it the right number of stars when the fact that the show on TV made me so furious for what they did that it was, okay, if it bothers me that much, then the book affected me.
Right.
And so I should have given it 4 stars. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. The storyline, excuse me, I'm going to try and prevent the cat from, destroying my iPad. The storyline is 2 friends who meet when they are 14 years old, and the friendship carries throughout their lives. Kate is living on Firefly Lane, and Tully moves in with her mother across the street, and they become friends. And it's how their friendship survives, which I have to say there are certain points where I'm not sure how it did, but it did. Kate is definitely the less popular, kind of mousier of the 2. One of the things that made me so mad at her was she never stood up for herself.
Right.
Never.
And that wasn't the background that she came from, because her mother did not raise her that way.
Right.
And the thing that bothered me the most was that she never believed Johnny loved her.
Right.
She always thought that she was second to Tully in Johnny's eyes, which
Right.
just, I mean,
Well, the fact that
it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, really, the man loves you.
Yeah, to begin with, I could understand
Yeah.
it because Tully is the second friend. She has had a rough upbringing. Her mother is a drug addict. She is initially left with her grandmother because her mother can't care for her. Her mother comes and gets her when she's, 7?
Yeah, I mean, she comes in and out of her life, takes her, then she always ends up back at the grandmother's.
At one point, her mother takes her to a protest march in Seattle, and she loses the child and doesn't even bother to come back and find her. She just marches on, and it's like Tully is an accessory for
Right.
her. However, another thing, the grandmother not standing up to the mother and saying, no, you're not taking her.
Okay, again, and I kind of figured that was more the times. I mean, you have to think 70s.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean,
It's
maybe
just-
the grandmother thought that it was finally going to be the time where she straightens up. I don't know. I mean, how many times do you...
do you let
Yeah.
this child go off with this woman? However, Tully spends periods of time with her mother and periods of time with her grandmother. When she meets Kate, she has just been picked up by her mother, and her mother is to say, we're going to have a normal life. We're going to have a house. We're going to live here. And then her mother spends her entire life baked out of her mind. And Tully pretends that she's got cancer and that she's smoking pot for the cancer. That's why her mother doesn't do anything and the house is a wreck. Tully is the popular one. Kate is the mousier one. Tully says, whatever Tully says basically goes.
Yeah.
You know, she is this kind of personality where she takes over everything in the room. And she decides that she is going to be, well, she decides they're both going to be journalists and they're going to be on-air journalists and they're going to rule the world telling the news. And she plows ahead. She has that single-minded determination that she will get to the point that she wants to get to. The problem is Kate doesn't want to do it anymore. Kate has decided that that's not what she wants to do. However, she keeps getting dragged into it because Tully says, oh, no, it's what you want to do.
Right.
And Kate says, okay. You know, and that was one of the things that bothered me was you can say no. You know.
Well, they were both so afraid that the friendship would crack. You know, Kate thought that if she didn't go with Tully, they'd lose the friendship, and Tully is always desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, she thinks she's desperate not to lose the friendship, but she never does anything to stop it.
To try and keep it.
Yeah.
When they get out of college, Tully has started working for a local TV station, and she's trying to get herself on air. Johnny is the head of the office. And Johnny is in love with Tully. Tully pulls Kate into work at the office. Kate thinks she's going to be a reporter, and it turns out she's going to be the office manager. Because Tully makes it sound like they're both going to be doing reporting stuff, and then all of a sudden Johnny's looking at her. A, he didn't think there was a job opening, but they worked around that. And B, what they really need is somebody to run the office. So Kate becomes the office manager. But she sees Johnny and immediately falls for Johnny.
Right.
So there's this kind of triangle that isn't so much a love triangle because Kate is pining for Johnny, Johnny's pining for Tully, and Tully's just Tully.
I mean,
not
Tully
paying
is
it attention to
incapable
anyway.
of, yeah.
I mean, and Tully was with Chad that whole time, so that it wasn't even as if there was a possibility.
Except for the one time that she did sleep with Johnny.
The one night stand that she had with him after drinking.
Right.
Where she and I guess Chad were on a break.
No, Chad had left, I think.
Was Chad gone by then?
Yeah.
Okay. Chad is left, and
Hi.
So Lisa, Dudley has come to say hello. Anyway, so Tully spends the night with Johnny, and Johnny now thinks that they're a thing. I mean, he is disabused of this very quickly after Tully just moves on, because that's what Tully does.
Anyway, the characters are flawed.
Which people are, right? So you buy into that.
And, I mean, the main characters are, the only characters really are Tully and Kate to begin with, and then Kate's daughter comes into it. But Johnny is always secondary. She never flushes out Johnny because Johnny is not the focus. It's
right.
Kate and Tully. You never get the background on Johnny other than what, he might tell Kate. But like when he goes off to Afghanistan or wherever, you don't, there's no fleshing out of that story, or when he went down to Central America, there was no fleshing out of that either. And
right.
It's the whole thing is just, and you jump great time periods just to the important points of their friendship. Which I thought was a very interesting way of writing the book.
Yeah.
Because it kind of like, you're like, well, wait, what happened here? But then it's like, oh, okay, but that's not important. That's not what the story's about.
Right. And you did get enough information. She gave you enough information that it carried you through. So it was okay. You could follow through. So Kate and Johnny do get married. And Johnny keeps telling Kate that she's the one.
Right.
That's it. She's the one for him.
And she doesn't, anytime Johnny and Tully are together, she's always jealous, which is it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, time to get over that.
Right.
So that's Kate's issues. Tully's issues are that the world revolves around Tully.
And for her to get to her end point, she will do whatever she needs to do to get there.
And she always thinks that she's helping, but it's helping in the way that focuses on Tully.
Right. For example, when Johnny comes back from being a war correspondent and he's been hurt very, very badly, Kate has made it very, very clear that she does not want the news anywhere near him, even though he was there reporting the news and he is part of the overall news agencies.
Right.
You know, she has made it very, very clear that he should not be the focus of any kind of news story, even though all the news stories the news reporters want to carry it. And she walks in on Tully filming an interview or
A segment of Johnny.
Right. In the hospital bed. And she's saying, but this is what we need to do. And it's what Tully needs to do to get to the next step in her career.
Right.
So everything that Tully does is advancing her career because that is her single-minded focus.
Right.
Tully was a character. You know, she definitely was a character. She did get where she wanted to be, the famous person, but she lost so much along the way, and she is so different from anybody that I know personally that, you know, to me, I'm like, seriously, you're that selfish?
Yeah, I don't think I would ever...
I could not associate with that.
Yeah, I could not... Yeah.
Or empathize with her.
At all.
Because she was so incredibly
And I mean,
selfish.
she had a rough upbringing, but it wasn't terrible.
No.
And the whole thing, you know, she can't love because people leave her.
Right.
The people she loves leaves her. That was true of her mother, and then, you know, her grandmother had the gall to die.
I was going to say, because she did have her grandmother, and her grandmother was a good,
was her
solid
stable force
person.
And then when her grandmother died, and her mother wasn't around, Kate's family brought her in.
Right. And Mrs. Malarkey was
and
like
Mr. Malarkey,
a mother figure for her.
Yeah, I mean, they loved her, and they showed her what not only love, but stability is.
Right.
So that I could not buy into the whole everybody leaves me. So that
when Chad left to take a job. And she had the option to go with him, but it didn't fit in with her plans, so she opted to stay.
But I mean,
it wasn't
and
so
that
much
was her skewed view of the world, was because he won't
stay here
he
and
won't
support
stay
me.
with me. You know, this doesn't work for me. You know, Tennessee doesn't work for me.
Right.
And the fact that he has the gall to like think of himself,
right,
she couldn't buy into. So.
Right. And Kate's issues were that no matter what, she gave in to everybody around her. It's like
she was always in somebody's shadow.
Givers and takers. And I think for the most part, if you're in a relationship or a friendship, it's a give and take type of thing where sometimes you're giving, sometimes you're taking. With these two, Tully was always taking and Kate was always giving. And it was even outside of the relationship with Tully with her kids. She constantly gave up everything to do things with her kids, even to the point of putting herself on the brink of a nervous breakdown where she was just taking on everything that she needed to do, you know, and things that she didn't need to do. She always had to be the giver, you know.
The caretaker.
Our mother had 6 kids, and she still managed to retain her own individuality.
Right.
She was never the grandmother. Grandma, not grand. The Graham's mother. She was never, it wasn't just that. She always had her own individual personality and life. And I think that was part of the problem. That was my role model. You know, my grandmother had 4 kids, and it wasn't that she ever lost who she was. And Kate loses who she is.
I think it's kind of what you said with Tully. Kate is also a character.
Right.
I mean, neither one of them, I think, is true, is real.
It's almost like it's a caricature.
It's almost like it's like, you know, they okay, these are the bad flaws, and we're gonna create them exponentially for Tully, and she won't have any of the good.
Right.
I mean, people have good and bad.
Right.
And you know, when you were saying with the give and the taking, there's always a give and take.
Right.
You know, there's going to be one that gives more than one that takes more, but there's going to be times when there's compromise, and there was very little of that. And Kate was just so much the caretaker,
the giver.
And I think part of what it was it had to work towards the end. You know, she was such the giver that she ignored her health.
Yeah, but it wasn't even so much. Okay, so with her health and everything, she did ignore her health. But what she ultimately died of with the cancer and everything, I mean,
that particular form of breast cancer,
we've seen it. It just, you know.
Well, and I mean, the whole point of the book for Kristen Hanna, because I read about it afterwards, was her mother died of this particular form of breast cancer, and she wanted to bring it to the forefront because it is a form of breast cancer that does not, the symptoms are not what you would normally find. It's usually like a scab or something like that.
Or a rash, right?
It's not the lump that you're always looking for, and it's to, you know, she wrote the book to say, hey, check for other things.
Right.
Because it is such, if you catch it soon enough, you can catch it soon enough, but if you don't, then
it goes very quickly.
Yeah. So that I understood, and that got me. But as you said, with the funeral, it was just...
Oh my God, the funeral. The funeral just... Okay. So I was going along, I'm reading this at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it made me so mad. I was up for quite a while after that because I was so mad. The one sticking point I had was Kate planned her funeral, and that's fine because she was the planner. That's what she did. The flowers at the funeral were not her favorite flowers. They were Tully's favorite flowers. What the hell? I mean, come on. It's your funeral.
That, and the thing that got me was not only that, but she planned it that way, and yet she knew that Tully wouldn't show up for the funeral.
Right.
That Tully wouldn't be able to go to the funeral. And it's just like, you know what? It's time, Tully.
Get over yourself.
I mean, the rock in not only your life, but several other people's lives is gone. How about you go and step up?
Yeah.
You know? Just
she couldn't go in.
Be an adult and go to the freaking funeral. Funerals aren't fun.
No, they're not. Especially when they're for ones that you love. And,
right.
you know, however, there are times when you have to go.
Yeah.
And this was one of those times. And it's just the fact that she couldn't do it, and Kate knew it and sent her the tape and the letter so that she could dance in the street outside the funeral, where it was Tully's flowers inside and not her own.
So that, once again, you know, Kate's funeral is all about Tully.
Right. And that really made me very mad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that there. Made me mad.
Which is part of why it was going to 3, but then I'm like, okay, but it made you so mad.
That's the thing.
And as you said, I'm still thinking about it. And then when we watched the show, they changed. I understand, television changes things, but they changed things. We didn't stick around long enough to see whether they resolve it or whatever. But I mean, there's a huge change that is really, really.
Well, we've already said that. I mean, the whole point was one of the things that you got so mad at was that Johnny kept telling her, "You're the one. It never was Tully. It's you."
But it's also going against the whole giver thing. They say she initiates the divorce on the TV show, but that's not Kate at all.
Right.
She would never do that.
Right. And fact
she would never go get the job and use Tully to help her get the job. That's not Kate.
And then the
also,
fact that
who gets a job when they show up, you know, with their hair all disheveled and, you know, an hour late. Sorry.
And then the fact that the whole point was that Johnny loved Kate so much. Once they got married, she was the only one for him. Right. And he kept saying it over and over again, and he kept proving it to her over and over again. And within the first episode of this, he's knocking on Tully's door asking if he can spend the night.
Right.
Because she's the one.
Oh, and we've erased 2 of her children.
Oh, yeah, and the 2 kids, the 2 boys aren't even in the show. I mean, where are
Which
they?
is part of why she's so haggard, is because she's got these twin boys.
Right. Where are William and Lucas? I would like to know. I mean, you kept the horror that is her daughter, which, okay, having grown up with my mother,
That should
none of that fly. We would not have gotten like half of that sentence, one of those sentences out. It was just, you didn't talk like that. And Kate was not brought up that way. Her mother did not let her talk like that. So that, yes, she and her mother did have a contentious relationship when she was a teenager, because teenage girls do.
Right.
They're full of hormones. They don't know what's going on. Their bodies don't know what's going on, and they react, by yelling at their mother, because their mother is the problem for everything. The solution, she's the cause of all the problems. However, there's a difference between going up and slamming your door and then just like doing some of the things that Mara did.
It falls into the whole caricature of everything. It's just that Mara was a caricature. And the other thing with the TV show is, I don't even think in the caricature of Tully. Nobody in their right mind signs a permission slip for an 8th grader to get birth control without talking to their parents first. I mean, if you're that good a friend with the mother, you would never do that.
No, you don't.
You just don't.
I mean, I can understand wanting to be the cool aunt. We want to be the cool aunts, and we send down advent calendars or things like that they have a present to open every day, but I would never, ever, ever dream of doing something like that without talking to the parents. And even if I had talked to the parents, it would be like, nope, that's your thing. You do that.
I have my place.
Yeah. And I know what it is, but so Tully wants to be the great aunt. So she sends over the pink limo or whatever to do that kind of thing, and has the special party that Kate gives up, even though the dance is that's the thing that she and Mara do together. But she's like, okay, fine. That I can understand. That is like an overbearing person taking over. But to sign the form so that, and I'm sorry, what clinic is going to accept that? I mean, obviously she hasn't done it yet because she still has the form, but really, what clinic is going to accept that?
Yeah.
It's not your parent.
Yeah,
you've got to have well, there is that. It is totally hard. So, as you can see, we're conflicted.
Yeah.
We have definite opinions. However, the book still is making me this mad. So it's a very, very well written book.
Yes.
I do like Kristen Hanna's books very, very much, even when they do touch on some difficult subjects. So I will continue reading them.
Yes.
I'm not sure I'm going to continue with the TV show.
And I don't think I will read the sequel to Firefly Lane, because I don't care enough. The one that I might have cared a little bit about is gone, so I don't need.
I like her mother. I really like Mrs. Malarkey, so that I might read it for her, because isn't she involved in it too?
Well, it's the 3. It's Mrs. Malarkey, Tully, and Mara getting over.
Okay, so that I might read it for Mrs. Malarkey, but other than that. Oh, also, why is Sean, her brother, suddenly gay on the show?
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, even if this is something that came out in book 2... why are you ruining it for people who might have only read the first one?
It doesn't go with anything, because it's Tully and Kate. Everything else is secondary. To even know that much about Sean the brother goes against the book.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anyway.
It's a definite thumbs down on the TV show.
Yeah. And it's not that we have a problem with him being gay or anything like that, because that's not it. It's just...
where did that go? It was out of left field.
Why did you do that?
Right.
That and the fact that they just erased her 2 sons, that really was like, why? Why would you?
Yeah.
And when Johnny started knocking on Tully's door, I'm like, yeah. I'm out. Okay. Let us know what you thought. Give us your thoughts downstairs. Give us your thoughts in the comments.
We'll meet you downstairs.
Could you be washing the yarn for us while we're doing this, please? Because I really don't want to do that. We've been talking about this for a half an hour so that we don't have to wash yarn. Okay. Well, we hope you guys have a great Monday.
Yes, go forth and create and read.
Yeah, it's President's Day.
Yeah.
Are you working? We're working, but anyway, we will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.